Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I wanted to go over a couple of things with this market going on. The first thing I wanted to tell a lot of you that are new to this is that I've mentioned this before, but when we go into these harsh downtrends like this, there's a pile-on effect that you always see, and a lot of the media outlets who are in my opinion, they work in conjunction with a lot of the anti-crypto people. You'll begin to see them pile on. And I just wanted to at least show you this article. This is from Abacus Journal about Bloomberg, called Epic Troll Bloomberg Clickbait. Bloomberg's crypto coverage is a disaster. Shame on them. And more or less, I've mentioned Bloomberg before, but in the last year, their coverage of crypto, any chance they get to just pile on, it's like very obvious that they have an agenda at Bloomberg. This article from this week was the one where they were saying Jamie Dimon and Warren Buffett proven right about Bitcoin. Well, I don't know how they even rationalize that when this same type of thing has happened with Bitcoin 5 to 7 times. And in each time, people like this say the same thing. But at what point do people turn to them and say, wait a minute, you keep saying these things, but then it always comes back. And they're trying to paint this like it's the end of Bitcoin. I've seen this 1,000 times. But one thing I wanted to make note of on this is this little area right here. It says the terminal services coverage of the crypto bear market sounds like a sad replay of since embarrassed early internet era detractors. All manner of doubters decried the anytime now death of Amazon, Priceline, eBay, PayPal, Google, and others. It is downright embarrassing, and we wonder who is approving this mindless dribble. That is what I wanted you to hear out of this thing more than anything. And we wonder who is approving this mindless dribble. And my point in telling you all of this is you better believe there are agendas that are going on. And all that's important for you, because remember, we've told you 1,000 times, do your own homework. Don't just take our words for it. You've done your homework. You know what you're invested in. And it doesn't, all these are distractions, and they're intentional. This is intentional. They're trying to do a pile on, but they're going to lose. But I wanted to take this occasion to put out in front of you. Many of you don't. I've mentioned this before. But many of you don't remember Enron. All of these people that are writing these anti-crypto articles right now, these are the same people and the same magazines and the same traditional financial firms who were lauding Enron right before its collapse. And Enron was a true fraud. It was the real deal. It was a real fraud. The irony of what they're saying about these digital assets is that the digital assets, literally, the way that they're created, they literally can't be a fraud because there's too many different. In the case of XRP, there's nodes that all have to agree. It's literally impossible for it to be a fraud. And meanwhile, at Enron back in the 90s, if you know anything about this, it was nothing but one big accounting fraud run by, I believe his name was Jeffrey Skilling. But these guys were literally telling their clients and it was almost every firm on Wall Street. It says here, countless investors got rolled with Enron stock, especially after Fortune magazine voted Enron America's most innovative company for 6 consecutive years from 1996 to 2001. Yet, that final year, Enron succumbed to the largest corporate scandal and flameout in history. The stock tumbled from $90 a share to 6.2 cents in a span of just 16 months. Now, all these and this is Fortune magazine that did this, but it was also it was worse than that. It was just about every Wall Street firm that you can name, from Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Merrill Lynch. They weren't just involved. They were the investment. Many of them were doing the investment banking side with Enron and had an obvious conflict of interest. They were helping to underwrite Enron, and then on the retail side, they were getting their brokers to go and sell the Enron stock to investors. My father was a victim of this particular thing. He was with Merrill Lynch at the time, and they literally were pumping that Enron stock all the way to the end. And all of these media outlets were pumping it right along with them. And so if you think that this does not work in reverse, now remember, and I keep going back to it, remember, this is the first new asset class since, I believe the year I gave you was 1696. That's when bonds were created. 1696. This is the first new asset class since 1696. So if you don't think that these traditional financial firms and their puppets in the media are not going to prime this pump and make sure that everything is exactly the way they want it before the launch of this new asset class, and that when I say the launch on their platforms, not on Binance and all these things, but on their platforms, because their platforms are where they're going to make the money. If you don't think that there's a coordinated effort on the part of many companies in this space, and I'm not naming any names, I'm just saying in general, you're out of your mind. So, moving along, I wanted to, oh man, okay, let me see if I can get this article to come back up. Okay, here we go. This is Binance CEO, come on. Binance CEO 2019 is the ultimate year, what does he say? The ultimate year for crypto mass adoption. And when you go down here, this is the Binance CEO, and they say the crypto market may have been going through hell, but it's no secret that much has been achieved this year. There have been lots of developments meant to boost crypto adoption. Companies like Ripple and Tron Foundation have been doing everything to bring their native cryptos closer to the people. And then if you go down here, he says Outlook, the crypto space 2018. Changpeng Zhao also shared his thoughts about the prevailing market situation of 2018, and he was all bullish. Interestingly, Zhao expressed his satisfaction with the market performance this year, saying that 2018 is basically a build year, a challenging period to prepare the market for future growth. To expound on that, Zhao confessed that had the bear market not happened, even large exchanges like Binance would have found it really hard to handle the resultant inflated trading volume driven by a bullish market. Speaking of the future, he said that significant institutional funds are likely to flow in from the U.S., despite Europe enjoying a faster rate of crypto adoption. And then this is my favorite part. Plans to turn Binance into a Verb. Like all business entities, Binance has a plan for the future. However, Zhao wasn't exactly willing to disclose everything yet, although he did give away some clues. He said the exchange focuses more on short-term goals, sometimes weekly goals. Drawing a parallel from Google, Zhao envisioned a future where Binance turns into a Verb. Maybe in the future, when the people want to do something on Binance, they will want to Binance that. Well, the digital asset investor is here to tell you that XRP is going to be turned into a Verb. Maybe we'll XRP that in the future. Last thing I wanted to show you is a great thing to see in this market, and this is from Stephen Diep at DIEPSANH. He posts a lot of really good short video clips with great quotes in them. And this is this is Ashish Birla, and he's talking about what Chris Larson said to him before he came on board. I don't know when this will happen, but the Internet of Value solved blockchain is going to happen. We have to make sure we are around in the right position for when this thing takes off. And that's what I would say to all of you. If you cannot take, and I've said this before, if you cannot take looking at these, when we have these days where just everything gets killed, I've seen it a lot of times, but if you can't take it, turn your computer off, walk away, and make sure your digital assets are secure, preferably on your Ledger Nano S, and walk away. And you'll know when to come back, because the headlines will be, you won't be able to miss them. Because when this bull starts, in my opinion, this bull is going to be the biggest ever. Because this time we're going to have Wall Street coming in. And they're going to make sure that it's the biggest ever, because they're going to pump these same media outlets that they're pumping in the other direction right now are going to be pumping in the good direction for you and me. But that only can happen if you do what Chris Larson said, and you have to make sure that you are around in the right position for when this takes off, because it is going to take off. I'm a digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe and hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that they have got to be in the right position when this thing takes off. Thanks for listening.